my wife, Catherine, had become completely infatuated with her colleague from the company. The whole situation came to a head at our anniversary party. A lot of her work friends were there, and just as the celebration was getting started, the video montage I had spent weeks putting together was swapped out. Instead of a journey through our shared memories, the screen displayed a clip of her and a younger man, Oliver, looking far too comfortable with each other. To my surprise, Catherine just went along with it. She announced to everyone, "At the company, everyone says we're the perfect team. The partners don't know my husband, and they'd be more willing to work with Oliver if they believed he were my partner." The people in the room who knew me were watching, expecting me to erupt in anger and cause a scene. I decided not to give them the satisfaction. Instead, I simply clapped along with everyone else. Our marriage had been failing for a while, and frankly, I was tired of playing the part of her husband. I glanced over at Oliver, who was impeccably dressed in an expensive suit. He looked more like the man of the hour than I did. It was obvious this had all been orchestrated. I walked over to him and handed him the small cards on which I had written my anniversary speech. Tuning out the reactions of the guests around me, I turned and walked straight out of the party. From the moment I left the hall until I reached the parking lot, Catherine never once tried to follow me. It was clear that my departure was exactly what she had hoped for. If that was what she wanted, I wasn't going to put up a fight. I had been busy with party preparations since the morning and hadn't had a proper meal all day. The first thing I did was drive to Maple Pavilion, the most popular restaurant in the city. Catherine and I used to come here all the time right after we were married, but somewhere along the road, I had faded from her focus, and our shared history seemed to fade with me. Catherine never liked dealing with the stressful details of planning an event. I had spent the last 2 months organizing everything for this anniversary party to make sure it was perfect, from the flowers and the food to the guest list and the venue. When we got married, we had a simple trip, just like she wanted, but I had always dreamed of having a large ceremony with all our friends and family. This anniversary was supposed to be a second wedding for us, a way to make up for that. I had put so much of myself into it, which is why I knew the video swap was no accident. That video contained clips from our first dates all the way to our 5th anniversary, showing how we had grown from inexperienced kids into the adults we were. It hurt, I won't deny it, but after so many disappointments, I had become numb enough to just walk away as if it were nothing. By the time I finished my meal, even the last traces of heartache had vanished. My mind was made up. I went home, took a shower, and was about to go to sleep when Catherine called. "Robert, where are you?" she asked, her voice tinged with annoyance. I didn't know the rest of the schedule and almost embarrassed myself. She spoke to me as if I were hired help, someone to be summoned at her convenience. I kept my voice calm. "I came home. Do you need me to come back?" There was a pause on her end. No, it's fine," she said. "The party was a huge success. There's no need." I knew she wouldn't want me there. Now that the main event was over, she would want to spend some private time with her new partner. It wasn't like she needed me around anymore. For the first time in a long while, I had a truly sound night's sleep, free from the stress of party planning that had kept me awake for too many nights. By the time I woke up, it was the middle of the next day, and Catherine was home. She had changed out of her party dress into something more comfortable and seemed to be in a very good mood, her face flushed with excitement. The moment she saw me, however, her smile disappeared. "Why didn't you answer my calls or texts?" I stretched and shrugged. I was asleep. Catherine squinted at me. "You're not still sulking about what happened, are you? You know, I did it for the business. Oliver and I have a certain chemistry as a team, and if the partners believe we're together, they'll be more inclined to support our projects." "Yes, you two are the dream team," I said, a bitter laugh forming in my mind. "Turning my anniversary party into your engagement announcement." I wondered if she was too caught up in her own happiness to think clearly. I just shrugged, not wanting to get into an argument. My relaxed attitude seemed to anger her, and she was about to say more when the front door opened. Oliver strolled right into our bedroom, carrying a bag and smirking as if he owned the place. "Catherine, you forgot your clothes," he said casually. "I thought I'd bring them over." He had his fingerprints saved on our door lock, treating our home like his own. Catherine acted as if it was perfectly normal. "Sorry to trouble you this late. I could have gotten them tomorrow." The look they exchanged made my stomach turn. I shuddered, and Catherine suddenly found a new reason to criticize me. Looking at Oliver, she said, "Why can't you be more like him? He's younger, but he's so much more mature than you are. He handled all those important guests like a professional, while you just hid away. If it weren't for Oliver, who knows how the night would have ended. You just left without a word. Before she could finish, I cut her off. I get it. Catherine and Oliver both looked stunned. They must have expected me to be shattered, but instead, I remained surprisingly calm. There were no tears, no dramatic scene, not even a word of protest. I just looked at Catherine with a blank expression. Everyone knew how deeply I loved her, how I had been willing to give up everything for her. Before I met her, I was considered a genius in the art world, pouring my soul onto the canvas. My art was how I communicated with the world, my primary emotional outlet. But all of that began to change when I met Catherine. She was just an ordinary employee at a small company, but her smile and the look in her eyes gave me a sense of warmth and stability I had never felt before. I was willing to sacrifice everything, even my once bright art career, for her. My family's opposition was intense. They couldn't understand why I would abandon our family's artistic legacy for a woman they considered ordinary. But to me, Catherine was worth it, and I cut ties with my family just to be with her. Those early days were difficult, but also happy, as we relied on each other for support. With my encouragement, Catherine bravely started her own business. Her company grew from a small startup into a great success. I was incredibly proud of her and was content with my role in supporting her through that journey. However, as her career took off, our relationship began to change quietly. She became busier, working late into the night and on weekends, which left very little time for me. I tried to be understanding, giving her the space and support she needed, yet I started to notice that someone else was occupying her thoughts. At first, she would casually praise Oliver in front of me. "That new guy, Oliver, is really talented and easy to get along with," she'd say. "We're going to work well together." I didn't think much of it at the time, assuming she was just acknowledging a capable colleague. But over time, she began to compare me to him, showing a clear admiration for him that made my heart sink with a sense of foreboding. Eventually, Catherine started spending more time working late with Oliver, and they even began going out together on weekends. Her smiles, which were once reserved for me, now frequently appeared in Oliver's presence. I protested and tried to create a scene, but Catherine only grew irritated. "Can't you be more reasonable? I'm just doing my job. I see Oliver as a little brother. Stop being so possessive, Robert. Your love is selfish." I realized then that her heart was no longer fully with me. Facing this reality, I felt a pain and confusion I had never experienced before. I began to question myself, wondering if I wasn't good enough, especially when compared to Oliver. I tried everything I could think of to win her back, but the absurd events at the anniversary party finally woke me up. I had been a fool. This relationship was no longer worth fighting for. Catherine hadn't expected my calm reaction and asked again, incredulously, "What did you just say?" I adjusted my posture, sitting up straighter. I looked at her seriously, yet with a newfound distance in my voice. "I'm saying that I was wrong. I was wrong to give up everything for you, and I was wrong to try and win back a heart that no longer loves me. Loving you was a mistake. Going against my family to be with you was a mistake, too. But now I'm ready to cut my losses." Under Catherine's disbelieving gaze, I said the words plainly. "Catherine, we should get a divorce." Catherine's purse dropped from her hand and hit the floor with a soft thud. Oliver's face, on the other hand, couldn't hide his glee. He looked like he was about to burst out laughing. He had clearly been waiting for this moment for a long time. Catherine just frowned, and her reaction surprised me. "Robert, are you drunk or are you just being childish?" she asked. "Say that again." Afraid she hadn't heard me clearly in her shock, I repeated myself. I said, "Catherine, let's get a divorce." I then waited quietly for her to agree. Instead, she just continued to frown and stare at me, as if trying to figure out if I was serious or just throwing a tantrum. After a few moments, she turned away, her tone unexpectedly soft. "I'll assume you're just talking nonsense because you're angry. I won't hold it against you. Divorce isn't something you say lightly. Even if you're upset, it hurts people. We've been together for years, and we know each other so well. You don't just throw that away on a whim. I'm going back to the office tonight. You should stay here and think things over. No more of this nonsense next time." Without giving me a chance to argue, she left, with a bewildered Oliver following close behind. I couldn't understand it. For the past few months, They had been so close, and their actions at the party were a public declaration. I thought she would be eager to divorce me and be with Oliver openly. But then I considered that maybe it was for the best. I still had things to sort out. I decided I would have the divorce papers drawn up tomorrow, and by then, she would probably agree to sign them. With that thought, I got back under the covers and went to sleep. The next day, the sun was high in the sky when I woke up. My phone was silent, with no calls or messages from her. Without any hesitation, I called my lawyer and had him draw up the divorce papers. Once I had the documents in hand, I got ready and reached out to some old friends from my art circle to meet for lunch. These were friends I had made during my time in the art world, back when I was passionate and completely dedicated to my painting. Each of them had witnessed my passion and my relentless pursuit of expression on canvas. Back then, my heart belonged entirely to art. When I decided to leave the art world for Catherine and focus on taking care of her, they had called me lovesick and foolish for giving up my talent and dreams for a woman. Although I had some doubts at the time, love had pushed me forward. So when I decided to pick up my brushes again and return to the art world, those same old friends gathered around me once more. "Robert, I'm not sure what changed your mind, but we're all here to support you," one of them said. "Come back and we'll do this together." "That's right," another added. "I've been thinking, let's have an art exhibition, open a studio, and chase those old dreams again." The meal was fantastic, filled with laughter and renewed hope. When I got up to pay the bill, I unexpectedly heard a familiar voice. I turned around and saw Catherine and Oliver sitting at a table, getting cozy while sharing a piece of cake and playfully smearing cream on each other's faces. That romantic moment stung my eyes. As I approached their table, Catherine was clearly surprised to see me, and a hint of panic flashed in her eyes. "Robert, what are you doing here?" Oliver chimed in, looking startled. "Dude, are you following us? You say you want to divorce her yesterday, and now you're tailing her today?" I wasn't in the mood to argue. I knew it was just a coincidence, but it also solidified my realization that our relationship was well and truly over. I quietly placed the prepared divorce papers on the table in front of her. She tried to explain herself. "Okay, maybe I was being followed, but don't do it again. We were just feeding each other cake because I wasn't feeling well. Don't be jealous." I ignored her excuses and just watched her. She glanced quickly at the papers and, wanting to avoid an awkward public scene, nervously signed them without reading them carefully. Once she had signed her name, I finally told her, "Those were divorce papers. Did you really not have your wits about you and sign them without even knowing what they were?" Her face turned pale, her eyes filling with a mixture of disbelief and anger. "This doesn't count." Oliver seemed surprised at how smoothly I had gotten the papers signed. "Catherine, watch out," he warned. "He might be trying to scam you out of your assets." Catherine quickly flipped through the pages. I smirked. "No need to worry. I'm not taking anything from you. I just want what's rightfully mine." Our love, much like that piece of cake, had been eroded by time and betrayal. During the following weeks, I didn't go back to the house. Catherine's calls came occasionally, but I either ignored them or hung up. Her voice, which was once like music to my ears, was now just noise I didn't want to hear. As the calls became less frequent, a sense of peace settled over me. I was no longer trapped by constant fights and misunderstandings. I could finally focus on myself. I started to think, to remember who I was, and to plan for my future. Now I only had one thing to do: get through the mandatory cooling-off period and finalize the divorce with Catherine. I began preparing for my comeback. My friends and I planned an art exhibition, and I was filled with a renewed sense of excitement and passion. During this time, my emotions were fueled by some unseen force, and inspiration flowed from me like a fountain. I immersed myself completely in the world of art, painting my emotions and imagination onto the canvas. Every piece I created reflected my hard work and personal transformation. After a week of intense creation, I felt exhausted, but also incredibly fulfilled and happy. I decided to treat myself to a day at a hot spring spa. I was enjoying the peace and comfort, feeling as if the world had stopped just for me. But while I was soaking in this tranquility, I unexpectedly ran into Catherine and Oliver. "Robert," she called out. I didn't want to deal with her, but she was persistent. "Robert, can't you hear me?" she nagged, her presence shattering my inner peace. I responded with slight annoyance in my voice. "What do you want now?" Catherine seemed taken aback by my tone. I couldn't help but notice the suggestive marks on her neck. You still have the nerve to ask, she said, her voice filled with dissatisfaction and accusation. Why haven't you come home these past few days? You didn't even pick up your phone. She sounded as if I were some irresponsible husband who had abandoned his duties. Oliver chimed in, adding fuel to the fire. Yeah, Robert, Catherine has been so worried about you. She couldn't even concentrate on her work. Can't focus on work, but she certainly has time for a spa day, I muttered to myself. Looking at their content expressions and the obvious clues of their affair, I knew their relationship was no longer a secret. I felt an unexplained mix of anger and helplessness. Coldly, I replied, Do you think I'm overreacting? Have you ever once considered how I feel? Our marriage is just on paper now. What's the point of dragging this out? Before Catherine could respond, Oliver couldn't hold back. Catherine, it looks like Robert is still mad. It's all my fault. Maybe I should just leave and let you two be together. Don't worry, Robert. I'll resign from the company and never bother you again. I'm sorry. Catherine looked at him with deep concern. It's not your fault. Don't leave. You're just too considerate, and you always end up being bullied. This is all Robert's fault for making such a fuss. I'll make sure he apologizes to you. She then turned to me. Robert, are you done? Why are you being so cruel? Trying to drive him away. I stared at them as if they were fools. It seemed Catherine still thought we were just fighting over some trivial disagreement. You two sure have selective memory, I said. Wake up, Catherine. We're already divorced. Her face couldn't hide her feelings anymore, and she started yelling. She claimed that the divorce agreement we signed didn't count because she didn't truly agree to it. What a joke. I didn't sign anything willingly. I won't acknowledge it. I'm telling you, Robert, that agreement has no legal standing, and I won't recognize it. I stood there with a calm and steady gaze, feeling no ripple of emotion inside. Quietly but firmly, I said, if that one doesn't count, we'll sign another one. Catherine, my decision to divorce you is final. It won't change. Isn't this what you wanted all along? To be free, to be with Oliver without having to hide. Her face turned ashen as she accused me of forgetting all the good times we had. So all your past love was fake? Now you're just eager to show your true colors, Robert? You've had this all planned out, haven't you? Listening to her accusations brought a mix of feelings, but mostly it was a sense of relief. Taking a deep breath, I called out her and Oliver's actions. I'm not going to bother with your nonsense. Just look at the agreement. I don't want anything from you. I was always there for you. And what did I get in return? You and Oliver being all lovey-dovey. Remember our 5th anniversary party? How much effort I put into that. But you had Oliver stand in for me. Who wronged him first? Who gave up on our marriage first? I spoke of her betrayal and lies calmly, each word like a needle piercing their hearts. Oliver, instead of backing down, added more fuel to the fire. Stop twisting things. I thought you were a decent guy, but I didn't think you would stoop so low. Catherine is such a good woman, and you didn't cherish her. Don't worry, Catherine, you've got me now. You don't need to be afraid. His tone was full of provocation and pride, as if he were declaring their unbreakable bond. Watching them egg each other on, I felt no anger, just a dull sadness and a sense of helplessness. Catherine then mocked me, saying that without her I was nothing, and urged me to think things through carefully. At those words, a slight smirk crossed my lips. I didn't need to prove anything to her. My value wasn't determined by anyone but myself. I shook my head slightly and told her to check the latest trending news. Confused, she pulled out her phone. Her eyes widened as she saw the news of my impending art comeback. The fans I had gathered over the years hadn't forgotten me. They were still waiting for me to pick up my brushes again. Reading their hopeful and supportive comments warmed my heart. I knew this was the best time for me to have a fresh start. Catherine's face showed even more distress. Perhaps she had never imagined that even without her, I could still have my own stage and shine brightly. I looked at her again, my gaze full of determination and confidence. Look, Catherine, I said, even without you, I still have my career, my fans, and my own future. But you chose betrayal and lies. Oliver stood nearby, a complicated look on his face. He might not have realized it yet, but his smug sense of victory wasn't really worth much. I looked at them both and felt a strange sense of delight. It wasn't the glee of revenge. It was the relief of finally letting go. I turned and left without saying another word. I knew that I would walk the path ahead alone, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I had my art, my fans, and my own future. And Catherine and Oliver? They would just become a part of my past, buried deep in my memory. The day the divorce cooling-off period ended, the sunlight was just right, and the air felt filled with the promise of a new beginning. I had officially sold the old house where Catherine and I once lived and was getting ready to move into a new, smaller home that was all mine. That old house held our past happiness in every corner. From the decor to the furniture, everything was tailored to her taste. The color scheme, the style, it was all Catherine's choice. I felt like I had lost myself living in her world. When we first moved in, I had covered her eyes and only let her see once we were inside. The house wasn't big, but it was the best we could give each other at the time. That's why even after we had more money, we never moved. That initial warmth felt irreplaceable. But now those memories were just shadows, constant reminders of a broken marriage. So I decided to let go of the past, sell the house, and use the money for a fresh start. Moving into the new place, I stood in the doorway and felt a strange sense of unfamiliarity. It wasn't just the change of scenery, but a transformation within me. For so long, it seemed like I had lived to please Catherine, but today I finally reclaimed my own peace and freedom. The new home was cozy and simple, with every piece of furniture handpicked by me. It not only matched my taste, but also reflected my hopes for the future. I wandered through each room, breathing in this new life, feeling content and joyful. After everything was set up, I sat on the balcony to relax. That's when I saw that Catherine had posted a photo of herself cuddling with Oliver by the sea. The caption read, "The ones who matter will always be there for you." Before this, she had already posted several other attention-seeking updates, mostly cozy pictures with Oliver and suggestive captions. Seeing this, I couldn't help but chuckle. Their happiness seemed so absurd and ironic to me. I didn't dwell on it. I simply blocked her, deciding to let go of the past entirely. But just as I was settling into my peace, there was a knock on the door. I opened it to find my art friends standing there, ready to celebrate my new place. They brought gifts and warm wishes, with genuine smiles on their faces. "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" I asked, surprised. They laughed noisily as they set down their gifts. "Robert, what's this? You're not welcoming us," one joked. "You moved into a new place. We had to show up and celebrate," another added. "Yeah, we can't have our Robert becoming a lonely, stay-at-home type." We sat together, sharing stories about our lives and talking about our future plans and dreams. We raised our glasses to celebrate this new joy. I looked at each of their faces, feeling grateful and touched. I knew it was them who had helped me see the beauty and warmth in life again and gave me the courage to start fresh. As night fell, my friends left one by one. I sat alone by the window of my new home, gazing up at the stars. I knew there was a long road ahead, but I wasn't afraid. I finally had my own home and my own dreams. I thought my story with Catherine was sealed away forever. After the divorce was finalized, we went on different paths, our lives no longer intersecting. Yet, fate has a way of throwing unexpected surprises at us. The day before my art exhibition, I was doing my usual morning news browse when a stunning headline caught my attention. Catherine's company had gone bankrupt. It was like a pebble dropped into a calm lake, stirring up waves of disbelief in my mind. In just a few short months, a once thriving company had completely crumbled. It made me curious about what had really happened, but then I thought, does it really matter to me? I've moved on to a new life. It's time to let go of past grudges and regrets. On the day of the exhibition, as I was chatting with guests about my creative inspiration, there was a sudden commotion at the entrance. I turned to look and saw Catherine, looking disheveled and kneeling in the middle of the gallery. Her eyes were filled with desperation and a desperate appeal. "Please listen to me," she begged, her shaky voice drawing everyone's attention. "I'm Catherine. I've come here today to apologize to my ex-husband, the artist behind this exhibition." Cameras and phones were immediately pointed her way, turning this unexpected scene into the main highlight of the event. I was stunned. I never expected Catherine to appear at this time or in this way to apologize. I stood quietly, uncertain of her true intentions. "I've always known I owe you an apology," Catherine began, her voice breaking. "It was all my fault. I shouldn't have betrayed you. I shouldn't have been swayed by that fraud Oliver. He approached me with an agenda from the start. He wanted to steal company secrets and our money. I was foolish, truly deceived by him. He didn't just steal confidential files. He took all the company's funds and left me with nothing. I'm at a dead end now, and I hope you'll forgive me, she pleaded, as the crowd around us murmured, with some people beginning to look at her with pity. I now realize that I only love you. Please let me come back to you, she continued. I was unmoved, almost amused. Some people in the crowd who didn't know the truth started giving me judgmental looks, thinking I was being too heartless. A mix of sadness and anger surged within me. It was time for clarity. Everyone, please listen to me, I said, walking up confidently. Catherine did betray me with Oliver, I stated firmly. Her story of being deceived isn't entirely true. Oliver may have approached her with ill intent, but that's no excuse for her betrayal. Choosing to be with him meant she chose to abandon our love and our promises. Her apology today isn't about realizing her mistakes. It's about being desperate and using sympathy for her own personal gain. I paused, feeling all eyes on me, waiting for my next words. More importantly, I continued, I gave you chances, Catherine. I gave you chances when I begged you to come home on our anniversaries, and even when I saw you with him. You trampled on my heart repeatedly. So today I will not accept your apology. I urge everyone here not to be misled by surface emotions, but to see the truth of the situation. The real victims here are all of us who were deceived by her. As I finished speaking, the tide of public opinion shifted. People started criticizing Catherine, recognizing her manipulation. The police arrived shortly after, restoring order and taking Catherine away for investigation. That chaotic episode, though brief and intense, ended, leaving only whispers in its wake. Surprisingly, the drama boosted my art show, drawing even more attention to my work and its backstory. Each exhibition I held felt like a soul-refreshing experience, affirming my belief in expressing myself through art. Afterward, I chose to leave the bustling city for a while, traveling with friends to seek new inspiration elsewhere. We wandered through different places, soaking in new sights and cultures, laughing, crying, and debating. Each exchange brought new growth. Eventually, I settled in a charming mountain town, captivated by its eternal spring, lush landscapes, and rich local culture. This place became my new creative haven. My works began to capture my love and reflections on this town. Life here was leisurely, granting me more time for contemplation and understanding. I met many like-minded friends from all over the world, united by our shared passion for art. We often discussed our work, shared insights, and hosted small exhibitions together, encouraging and supporting one another. One day, I read the news of Oliver's arrest. His offenses were grave, and it was likely he would spend the rest of his life in prison. The news didn't surprise me, but it did make me reflect. We were once significant people in each other's lives, even if we were on diverging paths. Now he was paying the price for his actions, and I had my new life. As for Catherine, I heard nothing more about her for a long time. After she briefly gained some online attention following the exhibition drama, she tried live streaming to revive her public image, but her former employees had lost all faith in her. People saw her spiral into instability. Eventually, a kind restaurant owner employed her as a waitress, saving her from complete destitution. Yet the legal battles from her company's collapse left her deep in debt, a burden she would likely carry for the rest of her life. Years passed, and I built a new family and found my own happiness. Recalling those old days still evokes deep feelings, but today I've learned to let go of old grudges and to savor the present moment. With my own children, I returned with my wife to my hometown. Walking along the familiar streets, I spotted a woman who seemed familiar, yet I couldn't quite recall her name. That was when I realized that everything from the past was just a series of fleeting scenes. What's truly important is the present and cherishing the people around me. I smiled and continued walking forward, my heart full of gratitude and contentment. I knew that true happiness lies right here, and the past was but a scenic part of my life's journey. My happy little family will stay joyful forever.